Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to lesson 25. And today, students will be able to analyze a text to find evidence of Jack's figurative great heart using a TKT chart. Boys and girls, we've been talking about a figurative great heart, and I don't mean the real heart that's inside of your chest. I mean, how is Jack being brave, courageous, generous, kind to others? That's what we mean by figurative great heart. So today we're going to find the theme just like we did yesterday. And so we're going to identify the lesson, message, moral, theme of the poem or selection. Some common themes, remember, is be kind, treat others how you would like to be treated, enjoy nature, friendships, be responsible, never give up. How are we going to do that? We're going to ask, what does the speaker want me to know? And we're going to ask, how can I apply the lesson, message, moral, theme in real life? Boys and girls, why is this important? It's important to know this because an author or a speaker or poet, when they sit down and write a story, they have a reason. Just like your mom has a reason to tell you that you should come sit down and have lunch or dinner in the table so that you can have everything that you need to eat in front of you instead of making a mess in your bedroom or if you're in the floor and you're trying to do stuff. So there's always a reason to everything. So think about it. Your parents tell you to do something for a reason. Your teachers tell you to do something for a reason. That is the same thing with a theme. Lesson, message, moral. It's always a reason. So we're going to see what themes we saw in Love That Dog. And the main question we're answering is, how do the characters in Love That Dog show characteristics of a great heart? Miss Stretchberry is very kind and understanding to Jack because he's always questioning her. Why does she want to know more? Why does he have to tell more? Why did she do this? Yet, we know that Miss Stretchberry is very kind, right? We never hear from her, but we could infer she's being generous and she's giving him time and she's just being a very good teacher, right? All right, boys and girls, today we're going to read pages 42 through 52 of Love That Dog. So make sure you have it in front of you. That is March 14. So far when we started reading the novel, that was back in September 13. Remember, this is a novel that was written in poetry form, but it was also written as a journal entry because it has dates. So when this book started September 13, Jack was being very negative towards poetry. He didn't like it. He said he tried it. He gave up. Then towards the middle, boys and girls, we could infer that his class was reading poetry, just like we are. And what started happening? Well, Jack started falling in love with poetry. He even said he liked that thin poem that he read in class. He loves street music, right? So we're inferring all these things that are happening. So Jack is changing. At the beginning, he was very he wouldn't cooperate much with Miss Stretchberry. Then he started writing poetry and he even started sharing it with the class. So today we're going to see how or what is the theme and how Jack has changed. So March 14. That was the best poem you read yesterday by Mr. Walter Dean Myers. The best poem ever. I am so sorry I took the book home without asking. I only got one spot on it. That's why the page is torn. I tried to get the spot out. I copied that best poem and hung it on my bedroom wall right over my bed where I can see it when I'm lying down. Maybe you can copy it too and hang it on the wall in our class, where we can see it, where we are sitting at our desk doing stuff. I sure like the poem by Mr. Walter Dean Myers called Love That Boy because of two reasons. I liked it. One is because my dad calls me in the morning just like that. He calls, "Hey there, son." And also because when I had my yellow dog, I loved that dog and I would call him like this. I'd say, "Hey there, Sky." His name was Sky. So boys and girls, we know that Jack had a yellow dog. Now we know that his name is Sky. But he also wrote about a blue car splattered with mud speeding down the road, right? So we know those two things are very important to him. We don't know why the blue car splattered with mud speeding down the road is very important yet, but we do know that he loved his dog, right? And here, what is he doing, boys and girls? He loves poem. He even took a book from the class so he can do what? He copied it and then he hung it over his bed. Look at that. He went from not liking poetry to actually taking a book without permission from Miss Stretchberry I'm taking it home, copying a poem, putting it up on his wall so that he can always see it because he says it makes him very, very happy. Now, boys and girls, what words are being repeated? Best, best, best. So the author, not the author, the speaker or the poet wants to emphasize or make a point that that is the best poem ever that Jack has read. So he liked all the other poems, but this one by Mr. Walter D. Myers, he absolutely loved. And how do I know that? Well, boys and girls, he used the word best, capitalized, and he repeated it several times. So that tells me that is the best poem he's ever read. So boys and girls, what can we say the theme from March 14 is? So I know that as soon as he read the poem by Mr. Walter D. Myers, it completely changed him. A person can make a difference, right? As soon as he started reading that, he just completely fell head over toes. And I don't mean literally head over toes, I mean figuratively. Alrighty, turn the page. We are now in page 46, March 22nd. My yellow dog followed me everywhere, every which way I turned. He was there, wagging his tail and slobber coming out of his mouth when he was smiling at me all the time, as if he was saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for choosing me," and jumping up on me, his shaggy, straggly paws on my chest, like he was trying to hug the insides right out of me. And when us kids were playing outside, kicking the ball, he'd chase after it and push it with his nose. Push, 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 and getting slobber all over the ball. But nobody cared because he was such a funny dog. That dog, Sky. That straggly, furry, smiling dog, Sky. And I'd call him every morning, every evening. "Hey there, Sky." So boys and girls, what can we infer about Jack's dog? Not only did Jack love him, but who also loved that dog? Sounds like all the kids in his neighborhood, right? Maybe sometimes you go play outside with your friends and you have a dog and it comes outside with you too. We could infer everybody in his neighborhood or all the little kids that play with Jack, they all loved Sky. Remember, Sky is a yellow dog, his yellow dog. So they loved him. Even though he would slobber all over the ball, the kids didn't care. They would still get the ball and they would play with it. And look what it says. That straggly, furry, smiling dog, Sky. Boys and girls, can your dog literally smile at you? No, right? It means figuratively. The dog looks so happy. So when I tell you, "Oh my goodness, Tofu, my cat, looks so happy," I mean, I can tell that he's happy. He's enjoying what we're doing, right? I don't mean he's like literally smiling, showing me his teeth, right? Like humans do. Now, he also used a lot of what, boys and girls? He used repetition. What repetition did he use? Thank you, thank you, thank you for choosing me. So he said thank you. Now, who does he say said thank you? He's saying Sky the dog told him thank you for choosing him. Boys and girls, can dogs, cats, anything talk other than humans? No. So what kind of language is that? So I want you to get your anchor chart and go to the page that says, or your anchor chart that says figurative language. What type of language is that? Remember, if I say my cat Tofu says hello, but we know my cat can't talk, right? He can meow, but that's it. What type of language is that? Personification. So great job if you said personification. Yes, he's saying the dog said, thank you for choosing me. Remember, he adopted Sky. So no, boys and girls, the dog is not literally telling him thank you. He is figuratively thanking him by wagging his tail, playing with him, loving him, licking him, slobbing his ball. The one that they play outside with. All right. So what can we say the theme of March 22nd is? I know that when he adopted Sky, it looks like he's very, very happy, right? So what can we say the theme, the lesson, the moral is? A pet could be your best friend, right? Or a pet can bring you happiness. A pet can change your life. He was so happy with sky. Let's go ahead and move on. We are now in March 27, page 49. Yes, you can type up what I wrote about my dark sky, but don't type up the other secret one I wrote. The one all folded up in the envelope with tape on it. The one that uses many of Mr. Walter Dean Myers' words. And maybe Mr. Walter Dean Myers would get mad about that. Boys and girls, we know that Jack does this, right? He reads a poem, he likes them, and he tries to write the same type of poem, just using his own words, right? So the same type of language, sometimes when they use figurative language, sensory language, onomatopoeia, he tends to do that. So right now, who is he talking to? If he's saying, yes, you can type of what I wrote, we can infer he's talking to his teacher, right? So we can infer, what is the teacher asking him? The teacher is asking him, oh my goodness, this is a good poem, Jack. Can I put it up? And again, he says yes, but he doesn't want what? He doesn't want another one that he wrote. Look at this, boys and girls. I wrote, and then there's a line. That means that there's something missing that the speaker poet didn't tell us. So we know that there's an envelope, and we know that he said it looks a lot like Mr. Walter Dean Myers' poem. All right, let's flip the page. We are now page 50 for April 4. I was very glad to hear that Mr. Walter Dean Myers is not that sort of person who would get mad at a boy for using some of his words. And thank you for typing up my secret poem, the one that uses so many of Mr. Walter Dean Myers' words. And I like what you put at the top, inspired by Walter Dean Myers. That sounds good to my ears. Now, no one will think I just copied because I couldn't think of my own words. They will know I was inspired by Walter Dean Myers. But don't put it on the board yet, okay? Is Mr. Walter Dean Myers a live person? And if he is, do you think he would ever come to our city, to our school, to our class? And if he did, we should hide my poem with his words. Hide it real good, just in case he would get mad about that. So boys and girls, what is Jack talking about here on April 4? So it sounds like we can conclude that Miss Stretchberry is saying, hey Jack, Mr. Walter D. Myers is not that sort of person that would get mad because somebody would get inspired by his poem, right? So Jack is like, phew, that is very good to know. Now look what else he says. What happened? Miss Stretchberry typed up his poem, right? Usually she types them up and she puts them on what color board? It's a yellow board, right? Remember, he was very descriptive with that. Now, look what it says. He was very happy because Miss Stretchberry put inspired by Mr. Walter D. Myers. Now he feels better because no one will ever think that he copied. And I want you to look how the speaker wrote these words in italics. So they do look different than the rest because the speaker is trying to emphasize that it was inspired by Walter D. Myers. Now we keep scrolling down. Look what it says in this last stanza. It says, and if he did, we should hide my poems with his words, hide it real good, just in case he would get mad. So here, why is the word would in italics? The speaker's trying to emphasize, just in case, I don't know, I'm not sure. But if it happens, if he does come, I want you to hide it real good, right? All right. Okay, boys and girls, so we are going to read the rest of the pages 53 to 60 in class, so make sure you have your handy dandy book in front of you. Okay, boys and girls, make sure you have your composition book in front of you. If you only have half a page for today, that is completely fine. Just go ahead and make a line. Start by putting your name, date, and goal. Make sure you label it TKT chart. So it should look something like this. Your name, your date, your goal. We already know our goal is to master our BWA. Number 2, we want that homework pass. So TKT chart. What does TKT chart mean? So in 4th grade, we do a TKT chart for theme. So the T stands for text evidence. So I want you to divide your paper into 3 sections, just like you see here. 1, 2, and 3. So the first one's going to say text evidence. So that comes exactly from the text. I don't change anything. I use quotations and I tell you where I got it from. What I know. Well, this is what I know based on context, based on evidence, based on what I infer, what I conclude. And then the last column is a theme, which we know that a synonym for theme is lesson, message, and moral. So they all mean the exact same thing. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first one. Okay, so March 14, which is page 42. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to go to page 42, which is March 14. Remember, a good reader always goes back and rereads it. So March 14. That was the best poem you read yesterday by Mr. Walter D. Myers. The best poem ever. I am sorry I took the book home without asking. I only got one spot on it. That's why the page is torn. I tried to get the spot out. I copied that best poem and hung it on my bedroom wall, right over my head. Right over my bed where I can't see it when I'm lying down. Maybe you could copy it too and hang it on the wall for our class where we can see it when we are sitting at our desk doing our stuff. I sure like that poem by Mr. Walter D. Myers called Love That Boy because of 2 reasons. I liked it. One is because my dad calls me in the morning just like that. He calls, "Hey there, son." And also because when I had my yellow dog, I loved that dog and I would call him like this. I'd say, "Hey there, Sky." His name was Sky. So on here, boys and girls, I put that I got the text evidence from page 42, which is March 14, and I'm going to use the following text evidence. So let me just load it. I'm going to put it like this. Don't forget your quotations because you're copying exactly from the text. That was the best poem you ever read. So that's my evidence that came exactly or specific from the text. Now, boys and girls, what do we know? If he says that was the best poem ever he read, what can we infer? We already know, or we can infer and conclude that Jack loves poetry. He's head over heels for poetry. That wasn't always the case, right? So on what I know is that Jack started to like and enjoy poetry. So that's what I know. We inferred that, remember? He started to get really into poetry, so much that he even took Miss Stretchberry's book home without permission. But we already know Miss Stretchberry is very kind, so she probably won't get mad at him. But don't do that. That's not something you should do without permission. So boys and girls, what do you think the theme, the lesson, the message, or the moral is? What is the speaker trying to tell you on that day? Think about it. How can you apply this to real life? If that was the best day, that was the best poem you read, and I know that he started to like poetry, so then what can the theme be? Can I say to be kind to others? No, right? He's not being unkind to anybody. How about, can a person make a difference? Yes. Who's making the difference, boys and girls? Who changed the way that he saw poetry? Mr. Walter D. Myers, right? He even took the book from Miss Stretchberry. He really likes Mr. Walter D. Myers. So on theme, I'm going to write the theme. The author wants me to know is a person can make a difference in your life. Mr. Walter D. Myers really changed his life. So has Miss Stretchberry, right? She's being very kind. She actually made him like poetry. Don't forget, anything you see on my screen, you should be writing. I write, you write. Okay, the next one we're going to do is page 38, which is March 1st. So let's go ahead and go up to March 1st. And remember, good readers, go back and reread it. Yes, you can type up the yellow dog poem that looks like a dog, but this time keep the spaces exactly the same, and maybe it would look really, really good on yellow paper. Maybe you could put my name on it, but only if you want to. Only if you think it looks good enough. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come back here and I'm going to write, maybe you could put my name in it. On it, sorry. That's my text evidence. Don't forget your quotations because we're copying exactly from the text. So on that day, Jack was like, okay, you can put it up, but don't put my name on it. What do we know, boys and girls? Did Jack always like to write poetry and share with the class? No, right? He wasn't always like this. And remember before when he said that the teacher should keep it anonymous. Why? He was shy, right? He didn't want anybody to know that he had written a poem. But now look what it says in stanza 2. Maybe you can put my name on it, but only if you want to. Only if you think it looks good enough. Oh, boys and girls, so how is Jack changing? He went from being shy to being what? He's being brave. He's being courageous. He wants to share his poem. And look at what he's saying. Only if you want to. So now he's being very kind to his teacher, right? Saying, okay, only if you want to. So on here, boys and girls, in the what I know, I'm going to put Jack went from being afraid of putting his name to being brave. Now he wants to show it off to the whole classroom. So, boys and girls, if Jack went from being very shy, not really wanting to share with anybody poetry or liking poetry, being very negative about it, to being brave, what message, moral, theme does the speaker want you to know and apply in real life? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds of thinking time. What does the speaker want you to know? How can you apply this to real life? How can you maybe even do this in real life? Maybe when you're at home or when we go back to school, how can you apply this in real life? 15 seconds. And time is up. Alrighty, boys and girls. So what do you think should be the theme of this date, March 1st? So great job if you said that the lesson is to be brave and courageous. Yes, boys and girls, you did such a hard work. You show it off. It's okay to be brave and courageous and want to share with everybody. You shouldn't be shy of your work. Maybe you got a 50, but that's okay because next time you're going to try harder just like Jack did, and you're probably going to master it. You're probably going to get 100. Okay. We are going to leave page 50 here. So I want you to copy here page 50 and it's going to be April 4th. So April 4th looks like this. So make sure you have that ready. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the last minute to copy this. So your paper should look exactly like my paper. It's a TKT chart. We're going to keep adding to this as we continue with theme. I love theme because it's something the author wants you to know, but he doesn't say, Miss Alvarado, you should be brave, you should be courageous. You know somebody can make a difference in your life. I kind of have to figure it out. What do I read? What do I know? And how can I put those together and come up with a theme? You have the last 20 seconds. Ten seconds. And time is up. Okay, boys and girls, so I will see you in class to continue reading Love That Dog and continue with our TKT chart. Make sure you're on time.